Hi, everyone. My name is Bill, and welcome to tonight's program. Tonight, I'm here with Andrew and Meng from the amazing YouTube channel, Tokyo BTM. I'm not going to tell you too much about it. I'd like to let them introduce themselves and let you all know what they are exactly up to here in Tokyo. So, guys, it's wonderful to see you both tonight. How are you doing?
Good.
Amazing.
Thank you for having me.
Fabulous.
All right, so thank you both so much for being here tonight. So both of you are in charge of this YouTube channel that's becoming quite popular here in Tokyo right now, and it's called Tokyo BTM. But before we get into that, I'd like to know a little bit about what brought you both to Japan to begin with, what got you interested in moving here from your respective countries. So if you could, let's start with Mang, and we just like to know a little bit more about you.
Oh my God, I thought Andrew's gonna go first, but it's okay.
Oh no, you're up first today, Mang.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Meng. You can probably tell from my accent, I'm from China. But actually, I lived in the US for 8 years for high school and college prior to Japan, and also specifically California, Los Angeles. And then I moved to Hawaii, got a tourist job, not tourist job, tourism job, um, in a Japanese company. So I was a tour guide and also a service counter person, like introducing amazing things to see or to visit in Hawaii for Japanese tourists. And then after that, I really wanted to come to Japan. So my employer offered sponsorship for visa for me to come to Japan. So that's why I'm here. I've been here for in total 5 years so far. Um, things has been great.
5 years, お疲れ様でした. You mentioned that you were working in California and Hawaii, but while you were working there, were you also picking up Japanese language skills?
Oh, sorry. I was there for school, for high school and for college. So I only did 1 year kind of like work in Hawaii, but before that I was in Los Angeles for school only. So I never had any work experience over there. And I was like a huge nerd, a geek, loving Japanese anime and games when I was younger. So like listening to Japanese or watching anime, it was just very common to me. But I didn't have any professional work classes before college. So I started learning Japanese first year in college.
Oh, nice, nice. So you were able to go through some sort of formal training with the language.
I guess so. Yes. Yeah. American education. Yeah.
That was shady.
That was very shady.
But actually, my
Formal
school,
education, I guess so. Yeah.
So it was
well, but I would say, depends on different schools, right? Because
Yeah.
some American colleges, even after taking 3 or 4 years Japanese, courses, or even doing a Japanese major, they usually end up with N3, LG, JLPT N3 level.
The
But
JLGBT and three, right?
before, but I got N1, so on my third year.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, and also lots of people, my people around me are all very like, I would say like my school offered very good Japanese program. So a lot of us were able to get N2 or N1 before graduating. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people kind of struggle when it comes to, getting over that moment when you plateau in language study. So it does make sense when you said that people tend to stop at the N3 level, or that's the highest they get. So Andrew, tell us a little bit about yourself.
When I was in high school, we actually had a Japanese program there, which is, I mean, at least at the time, it was kind of rare for Canada. And so I started Japanese in grade 9. And then at the end of grade 10, my teacher came to me privately and was like, there's an exchange program. And I was wondering if you wanted to go. So I applied and I got in, which was great. So my grade 11 year was actually down in Yokohama.
I can't imagine how my language ability would be different or improved if I had started that young. That sounds really cool.
And then on top of that, I lived with a family. So, I was coming home and only speaking Japanese and stuff like that. So it was really, really good. It's one of the only times I've ever actually had that amount of immersion. Yeah, so pretty much after that, it was just, it snowballed from there. I loved Japanese culture and anime and games like Meng as well before, but once I had that experience, it was kind of locked in, I think, by that, like no turning back. So I did Japanese in university, and then I came here again for my master's. So then I did my master's here, and then I left for a number of years after I graduated, and then came back 4 years ago to work. Yeah, so I've been
Okay.
here on and off for 9 years.
That's fantastic. You had like a multitude of different experiences. It's not just I came, I studied, I partied, I went home. It's like, no, you came back, you tested it, you came back in a different kind of part of your life, and you were able to, find if it actually does fit your lifestyle for what you want it to be.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
That's really nice, because a lot of people don't get that kind of chance, or they might not put themselves in that mindset. You might decide to move to Japan, and then you try it for a year, and then maybe you get tired of it, or maybe you realize, well, this isn't the job I want to do.
Yes.
But having, more chances and, more lifestyle profiles that you were able to like try on.
It's interesting
been
to be
nice.
here in different unique phases in my life. So, the type of experience I had when I was in high school is entirely different from the experience that I have now. But both of them offer, interesting sort of, I learned about myself, I learned about Japan in different ways. So they've all been really important. And yeah, going back and forth is really good as well, because it allows you to really figure out where you want to be. And it allowed me to figure out that I wanted to be here. So.
That's very true. Yeah, because the more you step outside of where you grew up, the better you're able to see it, I think, in a certain sense. Coming from America, I'm sure, Meng, you would probably understand this as well, that when you're in America, you have the mindset of this is the best country. This is where everyone wants to be. Or that's just what you feel sometimes from the vibe that's around you. But once you step out, and I'm sure more people are becoming aware of this now in 2019, 2020, 2021, that, hey, it's not the best place all the time. So it's kind of a nice thing to see.
It's even helped me that opposite way. By leaving Japan, I was able to see Japan in a more objective light. Because when we all live here, right? We have our day-to-day routines, this and that. We kind of get sucked in, we're lost in the clouds, right? So there's that too. Coming here and leaving has a positive, you can spin that as well, like in a positive manner, because it allows you to see it from a more objective point of view. Yeah.
I'd like to ask you both a little bit about your current Japanese language status. How would you both judge yourselves linguistically? How good of a speaker are you? And how often do you use Japanese in your everyday life?
I consider myself better at speaking than reading and writing, actually, because I'm a very aggressive speaking language learner. I'm not so good at, reading things out, even in my mother tongue. I'm really terrible at it.
So you're more of an active producer when it comes to language.
Yes. So my strategy is, if I can speak a lot, and other people don't have time to respond, then I don't have to, understand what they're saying. Sometimes when I don't understand what they're saying, I will repeat in my way for them to understand. So that's my strategy. I consider myself a quite fluent Japanese speaker. I do use Japanese on daily basis to external Japanese clients as well. So I have to speak Keigo. But I think what I'm struggling at the moment is that because I'm using it just at job. So I just have to repeat certain phrases to the point that, because the job content is all set, it's not going to be various from day to day. It's almost like the same thing. So I just keep repeating myself like the same thing, repeating myself like the same thing, repeating myself. Yeah. So when the scenario is very familiar to me, I think I'm extremely good. But when you put me into a different topic or a new thing, I may not be so fluent or confident with the thing I'm speaking. Does it make sense? Yeah.
totally understand. Absolutely. I relate so much to the fact that you try to talk as much as possible to make sure you are understood. And so that hopefully the conversation will like settle itself and we won't have to talk about this further using words I don't understand.
Right.
That's a really good technique, selfish technique, but I do the same thing. I understand.
Yeah. But I am very fluent, by the way. So
just in case no one picked it up, he is very fluent. We're all going to respect that. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Meng. ちょっと意見を聞かせていただきました。ありがとうございます。はい。How many times would you say you use the phrase よろしくお願いいたします in one day?
Oh my God. Every single, I would say more than 200 times.
Yeah.
At least. Yeah. At least 200 times.
Yeah.
In a business scenario. But because like privately, I'm a very direct person. I think I have, I mean, Chinese American or Chinese/American, not Chinese American, Chinese/American attitude. I'm not very over apologetic. Like Andrew is a very apologetic person. So he will be extremely nice to strangers. I'm kind of like neutral. I don't be rude, but I'm also very like kigatsuyoi. Like I'm very like direct and straight, and to the point. So I don't sugarcoating my words. But because I'm working, so yoroshiku onegaishimasu is like 200 times per day. Yeah.
Exactly. My favorite phrase I learned like back when I was studying for JLPT, I think it was N3, N2, was a word that translated in English to social lubricant. And just phrases like that you can just throw in anytime. Yoroshiku onegai itashimasu, nan desu keredomo. Like these things just keep the conversation going and just let you kind of like glide through in a comfortable kind of position. So you do kind of get used to them, but every time I hit the key Y on my keyboard, yoroshiku onegai itashimasu just pops out automatically. So I totally feel that. Andrew, how about yourself? How would you grade yourself, judge yourself? How often do you use the language?
So it's funny actually listening to Meng because I'm the opposite. I think I'm stronger in reading and writing.
So you're the apologetic passive.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, for me, I learned very early, very textbook Japanese. So it's more comfortable for me to sit down and think through the grammar, which is a little bit of a weakness of mine because I then don't rely on my, what's the word? Sense of how I know that it goes. You know what I mean? Like English is the same, right? There's a way to speak it. There's a way to write it. And, it doesn't come out naturally at times because I'm thinking, no, there must be this is like incorrect grammar or something like that. So I'm better, I guess, when I then can write or read. I also think that I'm fluent. I think I agree with Meng about the parts about take me out of my sort of job area or, these things that I'm talking about on a daily basis. And you put me into something that requires me to be philosophical about, I will struggle more. I do think, though, the important thing about both of our, I guess, situations is that I have the ability at that point to highlight what I don't know and get an explanation and understand it. And I think when I remember, like when I realized I could do that, that's when I thought, okay, I'm fluent to an extent because I might not understand every word, but if you sit and explain it to me, I will get it. So I don't need to look at a dictionary. I don't need to look at any of that stuff. But there are words, of course, that I run into that I'm like,
oh, sure,
that means, And so there's that. I think my current struggle right now is Kegel. I feel slightly plateaued with it, and I actually think it makes me sound worse now. Because there's like, it's wavy, like there's like my ability to use it as opposed to I just used mas and just regulated it to that. I think it would be more consistent.
You would have that stability of language.
Right? Yeah. But it's a challenge. It's something I'm trying to challenge myself with. So I think that probably explains it.
your amazing YouTube channel, Tokyo BTM. It is currently blah, 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 blowing up all over the LGBTQIA plus space on the internet. And it's honestly, pretty popular here in Tokyo, in Nichome as well, because a lot of people who are aware of queer issues or who are aware of alternative nightlife events, like they all know that you are covering these events, you are introducing ideas, you are talking about different things regarding the lifestyle, the community, the group. And so I would love to ask you two a little bit about why you decided to waste all of your free time making this YouTube channel. Is it out of passion? Is it about a lack in our an emptiness in the online community that you saw? I'd like to hear a little bit about it. Let's start with Andrew this time to give Meng some stress-free moments of relaxation.
I guess, yeah, I saw stuff on YouTube. There were other like J vloggers and stuff like that. And a lot of their information and the videos were really interesting, but I wasn't seeing anything LGBT related. And I would separately have conversations with my friends, and we would get, somewhat philosophical or just talk about stuff, shoot the shit sort of thing. I don't know if I can say that, but anyways, okay. And a lot of them used to say to me, like, this could be a podcast, this could be a show, this could be something. And so it was sort of in my head for a long time, but it wasn't something that I wanted to do on my own. So that was one reason why it never really took off. And then Meng and I had a conversation at a bubble tea place like last year. And I'll let him tell his side of the story or whatever, but I said that part of, what I wanted to do this. There's a lack in the sort of YouTube space. I think it could be really good. I think we have the knowledge, both linguistically, but also culturally, which kind of go hand in hand, right? And then there's sexuality in there and sociology, all this stuff. So it's like, boom. And then Meng's like, let's do it. And then in a week we were, up and running. So yeah, I think I wouldn't have done it without his push, support, stuff like that, because there's just a bunch of reasons for it. It's risky, it's intimidating, it's scary. There's a bunch of things that go hand in hand with all of that. But he was really like a driving force behind getting like the ball rolling. Yeah.
Nice. Meng, do you think that's correct, what he said about you? Are you the driving force?
I mean, his first choice was Paris, actually, but but Andrew had, this kind of ideas. I have overheard the conversation before. He always wanted to do a YouTube channel, and I think Corona, there was like the first lockdown, and there wasn't many options that we can do, and also our friends doesn't want to hang out with us because it's Corona and people want to be a little bit more careful. And yeah, so we were there and like, drinking boba. And I just realized, okay, if you want to do it, like I'm also interested as well. Let's just set up a camera. Don't worry about anything else. It doesn't have to be perfect from day one. And fix little by little, because I did media studies back in college. So that was my major. I did a little bit editing before. And also I think Andrew, also his master is about media as well. So I haven't used this skill for over the years, but I think I just need to like pick it up a little bit and I can do it quickly. So I can relearn it very quickly. So we also had the media or editing skill prior to that. So I'm pretty confident that, let's start. And you mentioned earlier, like, why do you guys want to waste it? I never think I'm wasting it. I'm always investing. Because
nice.
Investing, yeah. I mean, I didn't start. I think as long as someone wants to start a YouTube channel or put themselves outside, they should consider it as a business, have realistic, business goals as well, and how to attract people to view your video. It gives you the most motivation you want to have. So I think, after we put out several videos, we know who are our audience, what they want to see, and what kind of videos are more popular. So it's evolving every single day. Even like right now, I think we also had a conversation regarding how we're gonna evolve our channel further recently. So it's still like a work in progress. And
That's fantastic, though, that you're able to talk about it so openly and clearly because you obviously are both passionate about it. But I can imagine that sometimes there might be a little bit of like butting heads if someone wants to express themselves more creatively with the editing style, but this person wants to create a little bit something more structured and not just turn on the camera and go. So, I mean, your different types of like business flows or like your workflows might come into play sometimes, but that's fantastic that you're able to do that together and that you both have a media training background.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because when I was younger, I wanted to be more involved in media. Um, and every time I tried stuff out or uh, sunk my toes in whatever in the industry, it just didn't work for some reason. So it's just kind of, I thought about it recently, like, oh, that's kind of, it's not ironic because I did my degree in that, but at the same time, it's been so long that I didn't actually think it would turn out that I would be using these skills now. So it's quite interesting. Yeah.
It's kind of nice because whenever like parents might have complained back in the day, like, why are you studying video? Like now it's making sense because I'm teaching you how to turn on Facebook Messenger, Mom.
Yeah, well, that's true. My parents complained about me learning Japanese actually because I'm Canadian. I should have been learning. I had to give up French.
Yeah.
That was a big thing. They said if you give up French, you're essentially screwing yourself over for jobs in Canada.
Interesting. Let's get into that real quick because I think Meng might have a similar story that I want to ask about as well. Your parents thought that you were throwing away the opportunity to learn French. What part of Canada are you from, Andrew?
So I'm from Victoria, which is close to Vancouver.
Okay.
So
okay.
That side is much more influenced by East Asia. Really big Chinese community, pretty big Japanese and Korean community. And it's mainly the east side of Canada that's influenced most by French influence. So I grew up around a lot. I didn't grow up with French influence, but it's a national language. And if you do want to get anywhere, in the traditionally like high ranks of society, you have to speak French. So yeah.
Interesting.
You just need to prove that you have all these tests, blah, blah, blah. And so when you have to take it until grade 8, and then in grade 9, you can choose to do something different. So my school had Mandarin, Japanese, Spanish, and French. And then when I asked my family essentially to switch to Japanese, everyone in my family said no initially.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So it was kind of a cultural thing of throwing away the possibility of a better future.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Meng, how about for your family? Did they ever say anything when you decided to go to school in LA, when you decided to study Japanese?
Oh, Japanese wasn't my major or anything. It was just a hobby. So they don't have any problem with that. If I, took Japanese as my major, they may have some opinions on that. But as a regular Chinese person, they probably just want you to do like law school or medical school, math school. Yeah, anything can make you rich, right? But I did media, so it was actually a huge fight with them, and they say like, oh, why don't you just do like econ or like business, something more easier for you to find a job. So, but learning Japanese, learning a different language is considered very cool. And English is my second language and Japanese is my third. So the more the merrier. They didn't have anything against that. Yeah.
Okay, because I guess they saw it as a hobby or a tool on your path to success. And that's not the final point, just learning and finishing.
No, yeah. I mean, I think Chinese parents are very supportive in terms of education. Yeah.
I'd like to ask you a little bit about how important Japanese is in the production of your channel. Now, the channel is called Tokyo BTM, and so the majority, I think, of the videos are conducted bilingually, if not a little bit more in English than Japanese from the videos that I've seen. But recently, you've also started putting out fully Japanese videos, which are subtitled in English as well. So what I want to know is like how important is your ability to speak Japanese, not only when speaking to people who you're interviewing, but speaking to the venue beforehand to receive permission to go there. So how important has it been for you both?
I think it has been really important to get to speak to the venues in advance. Like if we're talking about being polite and knowing, the right things to do at the right time or whatever, that is essential because a lot of these, not all of them, some of the places we've been to, the people speak English. So those videos could have still been made perhaps if we didn't speak Japanese, but there are a number of places that we wouldn't have been able to get into had we not spoken Japanese. And I think something about language as well is when you're learning a language, you're not just learning the words, you're learning the culture. So when we're learning exactly what to do at certain times, or when we mess up, I mean, we've messed up, I've messed up, and I know why I messed up. Whereas I know a lot of people who are in Tokyo who, for whatever reason, don't speak Japanese, and something happens and they don't know why it went that way. And a lot of times I feel like the reason they don't know is because they don't know the culture. And the reason they don't know the culture is because they don't know the language.
Okay. So those are so intrinsically connected, aren't they?
Yeah.
So like when you're talking about the fact that you messed up, do you think it was because you made some kind of cultural faux pas where you said something you shouldn't have? Or was it just, I looked over that fact because I wasn't thinking as deeply culturally as I should have?
Yeah, it's usually regarding not not thinking enough about it from a cultural point of view there of maybe what's expected. Do you know what I mean? Think about going to a place and bringing a souvenir or whatever. I remember when I was here on my exchange and I went to go for a sleepover at my friend's house. My host mother gave me a gift to take with me. And I was like, it's just like from a North American point of view, right? You just go over to your friend's house for the week, like a Friday night, it's not a big deal. But here it was like a massive deal. And my host mother was absolutely not going to let me leave the house before we made, sure that I had everything and a gift and I knew exactly what to do. So that's things that I've done there when I go places. Oops, do I have a gift? Do I, thinking about things like that. And I think it can go the way it can be when I make a mistake. The bad thing is that they look at me thinking I don't know manners, right?
Yeah.
But flip that on the other side, when we succeed in doing the correct manners, people then stop and go, wow, you took out the time to know what's important, and what Japanese people would want to, receive or see, or what they think are good manners.
Yeah. And then the relationship kind of can grow from there because they understand you're taking the time to understand and respect me and my culture. So they'd be more open to you introducing your culture into the conversation or the relationship.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice. Now, do both of you always bring a souvenir, a gift, or like the traditional omiyage when you do location shoots now? Is that your tradition?
So now this has happened, I think in the last couple of months that I've started thinking this is good and it's good for relationship building and stuff. And I think so far it's been working out a little bit. It's been working out, I think. Yeah.
Cool.
It's a token of appreciation. And we've had appreciation for all of our videos, but perhaps this is a way for us to sort of be able to express that in more of a Japanese sort of way.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you back from us. Thank you for giving us your time, kind of just a gesture.
Yeah.
Nice. Now, Meng, what would you say? Do you think that it's opened more doors for you, or has the fact that you are foreigners speaking Japanese to Japanese people during an interview, has that closed more doors for you?
Only speaking English can, you only have very limited access to business, to people, and how people open to you. So I think like definitely knowing Japanese, it gives me more access, like no doubt, right? But definitely gives me lots of advantage. And also, we have lots of other YouTubers covering Japan topics, but you rarely listen to them speaking Japanese, right? Like lots of vloggers.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
so people who are covering solely for a foreign audience.
For foreign audience, yeah. But sometimes I just feel like it's I mean, yeah, it's because they have foreign audience, they have to speak English, but I also think it's kind of like insecurity as well, that they're a little bit afraid or ashamed to speak not so perfect Japanese. I believe all of them speak very good Japanese, and also my Japanese is not perfect either. My English is not perfect either. I don't know why I'm doing videos in English and Japanese. But I just think like, fuck it, just be yourself and use whatever you have, and people can see the charm through you. Language is just a tool. It's not everything. Yeah.
I completely agree. Say that one more time. Language is just a tool.
Language is just a tool. Yeah. So you don't have to speak perfect grammar. Sometimes, I do feel a little bit awkward or embarrassed when I edit the video. Oh my God, I say this word wrong. But I don't think it's a huge deal. Like I don't have to feel ashamed of myself. This is my third language anyway.
Yeah, so. Absolutely not. Because people are not perfect. We're not perfect in person. Why would we ever want to try to create this perfect linguistic image of a robot? Like, we want to see someone who's actually living, actually feeling those emotions as they're happening. So sometimes your language gets a little bit crazy when that happens.
Right.
Well, that's a really good point. I'm glad you brought it up and I didn't have to bring it up myself. So thank you very much. We hit upon the idea that a lot of other J vloggers do have a mainly English speaking audience, but how about for you two? What has the response been to your channel from foreign viewers who speak English, from Japanese viewers who are watching either with subtitles or the Japanese language videos or the English language videos? Like, have you seen a discrepancy or like any sort of trends in your followers, your comments, stuff like that?
So the interesting thing I find about our Japanese viewers are very low compared to, I think Meng has the exact numbers, I'm sure, but it's like 10% or something like that. So in the grand scheme of things, our Japanese viewers are low. But the interesting thing I find from the comments and stuff and the interaction I have with them is that we are covering Japan, right? So it's a topic that's familiar to them. But we do it in Japanese, but because it's probably 70% English, that they actually really enjoy watching it from a foreign point of view. Like, we're talking about their culture, so something that they're experts on, but from a different point of view, they find it very interesting. So we get a lot of those sort of comments, how like, oh, this is how you're interpreting gay life in Japan. So that's what happens from that point of view. And then our other viewers are mainly, I believe, from North America, and they sign in from there. I guess we have more in Europe than I originally thought as well. But yeah.
The Japanese audience likes to see their own culture being seen again through new eyes.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what a lot of art comes down to, right?
Yeah.
Like, when you're enjoying something, you're enjoying it, but then it's interesting to see how someone else is also interpreting it. And so that's pretty much what Twitter is.
Yeah.
Like, just seeing what everyone feels about stuff.
What our channel is for a lot of these people. And they also learn things because they're seeing the same object from a different angle.
Sure, they might not have thought about the origins or details of something in their everyday life as deeply as you might.
Because to them, it's natural, in the same way that someone can point out something that on a day-to-day basis, just so I never even think about, just totally natural to me. Someone can point that out and be like, it's actually not this, look at it from this way. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
different color from this angle.
Yeah. Like cheese curds, French fries.
So good. So good.
That's completely natural.
And the sound of it too, when you eat them, that's so good.
Okay, please sign in next week for the ASMR experience for poutine with Tokyo BTM.
Yeah.
All right, Meng, how about yourself? What have you noticed about your followers, your target demographics?
Yes, so Andrew mentioned earlier, there are actually around 30% of people are, viewing from the United States of America, sorry. And Japan is around 10%. However, we don't know like if they are local Japanese, where they're like foreigners living in Japan. But we do get some, Japanese comments as well, that they're, upfront about their Japanese identities or nationalities. And some of them actually using our videos to learn English. They would turn the English subtitles on instead of the Japanese ones, to, you know, learning about our view on Japanese cases, community, and also, you know, learning English language just for fun. And also we have an increasing number of Philippines viewers, people from Australia, and also from England. So major English-speaking countries have more, like Canada, New Zealand, Australia, England. So these are our major audience. Then after that, we have, you know, Germany, or people from all over the world to see who are interested in Japan. Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, it's great for everyone to be able to get the information they want about something interesting they might not know of in their mother tongue, but it's also kind of fun to hear it in a different language as well. Did you notice anything different about your not most recent, but I think it was uploaded 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was fully in Japanese. It was an interview. Did you see a different response with that fully Japanese interview compared to your full English interviews?
Can I just be honest?
Absolutely.
Okay. Fully Japanese, because of our viewer base, right? So if a video is fully conducted in Japanese, it's because I think like reading subtitles can be a little bit difficult to English native speakers, because I grew up like watching American TV drama and like listening to American music. So reading subtitle wasn't a huge like stress to me, but I'm not sure about English native speakers. I assume you guys don't watch too many like things from abroad, unless that you're, you know, into certain different cultures like anime and stuff. So actually the engagement or the view rate of a video that's absolutely conducted in Japanese is much lower than in English.
I see. Okay.
So not so
That's
many people finishing
surprising.
the video.
I mean, the reasoning you just gave makes total sense. It absolutely does, because we have a lot of entertainment in our own countries, in our own languages, and unless you have that desire to try something new yourself, you are not really encouraged too much, at least growing up in America, to try things outside of your language family. So I noticed that even though in your video you had hard subtitles, it wasn't like the YouTube option. They were your own subtitles. They were shortened. They were made to be flashy, fun, a little bit interactive, I think, at the same time. And so even despite that fact, the viewership was still a little bit lower compared to your completely English versions.
I think so. It's like from the couple of videos that we did in Japanese is a little bit lower, but to us it's like shoganai, because we want to show the authenticity. We're not gonna dub the video. We're not gonna put words into our how do you say, like, interviewees. So I think the best way to showcase the guest, people can hear them clearly.
I think it's good as well because, getting back to what Meng was talking about regarding other J vloggers who only do things in English, it's an opportunity to sort of like, especially early on in our channel, people would question us, like not nice question. They would like challenge us.
Like, do you really know Japan?
Exactly.
Okay.
And I think now people are a little bit more comfortable with, okay, like we have an idea. We've seen multiple sides of these guys and have a better idea of what they're about. So I think that helps that image, round off that image that people have. And then another thing, I'm not the analytics queen, and I don't know even if you would be able to research whether this is true or not, but I've heard from a number of people around me, like friends and stuff like that, that they often just put the video on, not in the background in a mean way, like, oh, I'm just putting you in the back, but they might get up and go and grab some tea or something like that, because they enjoy listening to the conversation. They always say like, oh, it's just kind of like, I feel like I'm there with you just gabbing over some tea.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's quite possible that they're taking their eyes away from the screen here and there. And so at that point, if it's only in Japanese and these people watching don't speak Japanese, it might sort of force them to sit down and have the Tokyo BTM experience that way, and that might lower engagement. Yeah, if they're used to that.
No, that's so true. A lot of people treat YouTube as like a podcast medium now.
Yeah.
And so you can just let it go and do other things around your house while people are talking. But if you're not sitting down and like focusing on it, which I don't think a lot of people do unless you're watching it on your TV, like a whole series of something you want to see, it's kind of hard in that sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I always watch your videos. It's in front of me while I'm washing the dishes. It's just because Andrew's voice is so grating and like the water kind of softens it for me. So it's a lot easier.
I'm glad that the water can be there for you there.
Yeah, it softens it. So do you guys think you're going to do more fully Japanese videos in the future, or do you think you're going to keep the same ratio of English to Japanese videos that you currently have?
So first of all, I don't think we're purposely using English or Japanese. It's just really depend on who we are interviewing or what's the scenario. If we are going out having fun, that when we need to speak Japanese, we all speak Japanese. When we are just just me and Andrew, it's more natural for us to speak English. That's how, because we are, I said earlier, we're both fluent. So there's no like struggle where, sometimes it can be we making mistakes, but we just want to keep it natural. So for example, we have a guest that he or she can only capable of like speaking English or Japanese, will speak the tongue that he's comfortable with. So we were never like struggling that, oh, should we speak English today or Japanese? It's really just, we, work by the flow and to see how it happens. So it really depends on what kind of contents that we are able to bring. If we're gonna go to Japanese local bars, we probably can only speak Japanese unless there's like international bars. But if it's like indoor videos that because of lockdown, we don't have so many bar options, we just have a kiki at home, then we probably gonna just speak English.
One thing I will say to add on to that is it's interesting is we have gotten comments from Japanese people who are happy to hear when we speak Japanese. Like I think that they find it endearing. So we don't actually get that many requests from non-Japanese people, but we've received requests from Japanese people being like, I'd love to see more like content in Japanese. I think I think they find it quite endearing. So I think that's, again, I entirely, as Meng said, there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's more whatever fits, that particular situation. But there are always like really like pros and cons to doing it, and there's always something to, a good thing to come out of doing Japanese videos, even if sometimes our engagement goes down a bit.
Sure. No, but you said earlier, you're sticking to what's natural for you. And I think that's fantastic that you're both able to be so adaptable to your guests, because I think that's what's really going to not appeal to audiences, but that's what's going to help you like just keep growing and branching out is what I wanted to say, like branching out to different content. What you just brought up, Andrew, the fact that some Japanese people might find the fact that you speak Japanese in a video endearing. It might be my pessimistic, negative Nancy attitude, but when I hear they find it endearing, I feel that's like so patronizing and condescending. That's how my mind interprets it. How do you two interpret that? If you get a comment that's like, 日本語で話してよかったね、頑張ってね、というコメントがあれば、how do you both feel about that?
Well, at least I think they're not saying that you're Japanese shit, At least they're praising us. Like, I think you speak very good Japanese, so we want to listen to you speak more Japanese, interacting with local people. So I before you mentioning that, now I think about it, maybe, but I just never thought of that way. We were also always very feeling like beloved by those Japanese viewers. They leave comments saying like, oh, we want to hear you. We want your video to be more popular among Japanese people by speaking more Japanese. So yeah, I took it as a compliment.
So they're throwing a suggestion as like, they're saying that because you did this video in Japanese, it should be more popular in Japan. We want more people to be able to share this experience as well. So yeah, in that sense, of course, you would be taking it positively.
It is. It's very much like a, you can do it. Come on, guys, sort of approach. The difficult thing is, yeah, discerning, because I do think that there are times in Japan, especially anyone early in their study, you say like konnichiwa or something like that and go, but yeah, and that can feel very, patronizing at times, because, after a while you're like, I know I didn't say anything really. So are you believing this is my like max?
I did not break any new ground today, but I got an applause anyway.
But definitely, as Meng was saying, I think it is very encouraging from them, and they're saying it more as like, wow, you guys can do this, so keep going. Yeah.
Excellent. That's nice to hear. Okay. Yappari, it was just me being a negative Nancy. Thank you.
No. But actually, we did have lots of insecurity. Like, I think because before we doing it, like doing in Japanese, I would say especially Andrew is a little bit cautious because he's afraid of making mistakes. He feel embarrassed when he make mistakes. But I think like getting these comments really reassured that he doesn't need to be perfect to be loved. Like people still give him compliments. Sorry, I spoke for you, but I think it was good. I love to see those Japanese comments that asked us to do more in Japanese. Yeah, it was nice.
Thank you. Tonight's theme is life lessons from YouTube. Thank you. Now, so if someone were to come across your channel today, Tokyo BTM, what would be the go-to recommended video that you would recommend to them as a first-time viewer for your channel?
I think for people who come to Japan for travel, I think our best video to check is definitely Gay Must Visit 7 Spots in Tokyo. Andrew put lots of work into it. I really impressed by his editing skill and also his production skill for that video. So I think that's my top choice for people who want to just come here to, have fun. If they want like more knowing us on a personal level, or see using our Japanese skills, I think our recent interview with Mr. Gay Japan can be very interesting. It showcases how the Japanese, maybe people think that Japan's a little bit behind on LGBT issue. It is. I'm not trying to sugarcoating it, but people also have to understand it's not that bad as they think, right? Like it's not open, but it's not that bad. There are worse places. I just have to say that. So I really enjoyed that video as well. Andrew, how are you?
So for me, now I'm coming from this. So yeah, I agree. I think it depends on what's bringing, why are you watching the channel? So Meng gave a really good example of maybe if you're coming to visit, what ones to watch. I think if you're thinking about Japanese and you're thinking about maybe why to study it, why to keep pushing, I think a video that might encourage you is our trans video. And the reason why I say that is because I think that's one of, we go into deep conversations in that video. So it kind of shows kind of like the sky's the limit, like what can be achieved if you keep going. And, it's not that sort of just pleasant, oh, hi, how are you? Oh, this is cool, nice bar, great. Come again, we're going into LGBT issues and like issues in the trans community and stuff like that. And I was very proud of us to be able to do that interview in Japanese and get it out there. And so I think that watching that video, if you're looking at it from a Japanese student point of view, like I want to learn Japanese, I think it could maybe give an idea of like what's possible if you keep going. And I also think it represents like you were talking about, like opportunities perhaps that we got because we could speak Japanese. That's one of them. We wouldn't do that at all. We would even the initial, even if we were basic, like, oh, hi, how are you? Oh, this is a cute bar. We still needed Japanese for that. So it's an example of something like that as well.
Yeah, and you need to have a certain level of ability just to like navigate a sensitive conversation, to be careful of others' feelings. Even when I am trying to be extra careful in English about using my friends' pronouns and stuff like that. Sometimes I sense myself being a little overly cautious and possibly causing myself to become nervous and slip up because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. So I can imagine that's an extra step when it comes to doing that in not only your second, but your third language as well. So that can be quite challenging. So that's fantastic. Okay, so they would definitely check out that video for motivation for learning Japanese and seeing how far you can go if you put a little study in. What recommendation or what kind of advice would you give to people who are thinking of not, I'm coming here for vacation, but who are thinking of, starting to build a life here in Japan? Similar to both of you, you both chose Japan as your chosen country where you want to live for now on, at least for the immediate future. So what kind of advice would you give to someone who is just, Corona aside?
I think the more you think about stuff, the more you might not do something.
Do you work for Nike?
Yeah, just do it.
Just do it. Yeah.
Just do it. But there is an element, I think, of that I think Japan is one of the safest countries in the world. I'm not saying come here and be horrible and rude and not learn anything. Definitely, it's really important. Learn some basic Japanese, learn the manners, learn the customs. But at the same time, I think it's a place that you can come and sort of like live life and do things as you go, make mistakes as you go, and it's not that terrible. And I think that the more people think about things, the more they might just hesitate. So you have your work holiday or whatever it is, just book it, do it, go, and don't look back. And then once you're here, get the basic things, under your wing and keep going. So I have a lot of friends actually who are really cautious about things. And then they just that was me in the YouTube channel itself. Why it never started for so long, because I didn't just do it. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Thank you so much. I think that makes complete sense, because when you start thinking about the details, like where am I going to get my bread for breakfast? Do they have mayonnaise? Like all little stupid details like this that don't really make any, difference in your life once you get here. Like those will just stop you. So as you said, put on your sneakers and go.
Yeah, and you are gonna flop. You're gonna be like, I don't know how to say I need this bread. But Japan's the best place to make those flops.
It's very forgiving. It's safe.
So yeah. So again, don't come in with that, oh, they're forgiving so I can be a jerk. No. But also don't let it turn away, because if you're going to make a mistake, Japan's the place to do it.
Let's not make a t-shirt out of that.
Yeah.
let's not do that. How about yourself, Meng? Do you have any advice for people coming to live here or considering it?
Yes. So I think just the most realistic advice I will give to people is to learn the language. Because coming here to Japan, of course, there are a lot of people, I'm not saying everyone, a lot of people only speak English or their native language, which can be successful in Japan as well. I'm not saying those people don't exist, but the more you know about Japan, or the more you know about Japanese, the easier for you to find jobs, finding apartments, doing everything, because English is not available everywhere, right? And you have to struggle and also learn the culture. And if you're still like thinking, I want to move to Japan one day, and you're not studying Japanese, I think you're too naive, too soft to yourself. Just open up the book and start learning, if you really want to move to a country. It's going to make your life so much easier. And I think after you learn the language, while you're learning those languages, you're going to be more exposed to the culture as well. And you're going to get yourself fully prepared. Because I came here directly to live without, an education here. So knowing the Japanese in America was a huge kind of like, made me made me very confident about myself.
It was like a mental buffer before you arrived.
Yeah, because I know the language, so I don't have to. I still hustled a little bit, but it was a very easy transition where like very everything went very smoothly.
Thank you. So the two things of advice we have today are just do it and maybe open a book first.
Not maybe. I think you must open a book first if you want to move here. Yes.
But if you don't like to open books, you should definitely sign up for classes at JLMI, because we don't use textbooks, we use media. Yes,
there you go. Insert here.
Exactly. So Meng, please don't come for my job at JLMI. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So thank you both so much for being here. I really, really appreciated hearing everything about your experiences, not only on YouTube, but also just learning Japanese and coming to live here in Japan. Is there any last thing you'd like to say to everyone watching tonight before we close up?
Subscribe and like the video.
Subscribe.
Thank you, everyone.
Definitely head over to YouTube and search for TOKYO space BTM, and you can find their fabulousness channel very, very simply. So thank you so much, and good night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.